Hey y'all, so I'm going to be bringing you guys a analysis on a very fun TvT that I saw played in Pro League between Flash and Gumiho. It's a pretty awesome game, and I guess if I had to sum it up in one sentence, Flash does a very fun-looking strat where he rushes for Skyterran against Gumiho, and he ends up winning because he has a really big air army. And even though the strategy is technically, it's not a macro build, it's a technological cheese. So basically, you're teching really fast and cutting corners to get to that next level of tech. But it's still fun nonetheless, and it looks like a very solid build. So I wanted to go over that game today. Alright, so let's jump into the game. Alright, so this was a game played on Frost. There's Gumiho. Gumiho. And there's Flash. Alright, so basically on Frost, when you're doing TvT, there's a lot more options than when you're on just two-player maps because Frost, it has a large number of bases, which allows you to build larger scale armies. You can invest more into your army, and you're able to support that kind of expensive army. And you see both Mech and Biotank on. I'm sorry, it's just very hard to focus because I want to know what that means, but I have no idea what that means. It must be funny. Alright, anyways, so I'm just going to be focusing on Flash's build. He is the red Terran spawning in the top right corner. It is KT Roasters. Flash. And so Flash is going to be going for a Reaper Expand on this map. Reaper Expand is a very good build. I would put it at either number 1 or number 2. I guess it's actually pretty even with a Reactor Marine Expand, but with a Reaper Expand you do get that a little bit more scouting information because your Reaper can jump up into the other base of the opponent. And right away, Flash is going to be scouting relatively early. I believe he sends his SCV on 13. I send my SCV on 13. So, alright, so his 13th SCV finishes, and he rallies it to one of the starting locations. And then he's going to rally his Reaper to the other starting location. And luckily, Flash is going to be able to scout Gumiho first, so that's the best feeling in the world, when you're able to scout the other player first like that. And so Flash is going to know exactly where to send his Reaper. Now Gumiho, since he's doing a gas first build, he's not going to be sending an early scout out right away, because he doesn't need to know where Flash is until he starts to add on the starport, so he can delay his scouting a little bit. So, back to what I was saying about the openings, a Reaper Expand in TvT is one of the safest builds you can do, especially on a 4-player map such as Frost, because the only real thing that will counter a Reaper Expand is a Proxy Marauder Rush, because you'll have a Reaper and like a Marine, and he'll have a bunch of Marauders, and Reapers don't win against Marauders with concussive shells, sadly. So that's why the SCV was sent out. Well, that's not the reason why the SCV was sent out on this map, but it is important to send an SCV out on 2-player maps at 13 supply, so that you can check his base and you can ID if he's going for a Proxy Marauder or not. So Flash scouted Gumiho out first, and Gumiho does not know where Flash is, so Flash is opting to build his command center on the low ground. Now normally, I would, once again, this is a 4-player map, so you are allowed to do things slightly greedier, and Flash knows this, so that's why he is building his command center on the low ground. On a 2-player map, I would say that's very risky, especially against a gas first build, but against a Terran player on a 4-player map who has not scouted him, I would say it's pretty safe, because Gumiho does not know what Flash is doing or where Flash is. He does see the Reaper though. And so as you can see, Gumiho's sending out his late scout. He's going to be able to see Flash's command center, but it's already going to be done. Now, Flash is a very interesting player because he is not afraid to do things that are out of the norm. And the best I can do is try to explain the reasons behind why he does that, because they're creative reasons, and that's why not every Terran does these kinds of small maneuvers. Like his Marines right here. Now, I would say that these, like, at first glance, these 4 Marines look kind of undefended. You might wonder why they aren't in a bunker, why they aren't farther away, or I mean closer to the natural, or even on top of the ramp, because the Hellions would be able to get some free shots off, which we might see over here. And looks like Gumiho's build also allowed him to build a Reaper as well, which is pretty cool to see. And as we can see, his Marines are kind of lined up. They're split far enough apart so that they're not going to take a lot of damage from the Hellions. So he lost 2 Marines. He might lose a third. He's going to lose a third. And Gumiho also brings another Marine. So Gumiho brought a Reaper, 2 Hellions, and a Marine. And against all of that, Flash still ended up staying so far overextended past his natural. But in this case, I guess it's fine because he did see that Gumiho is going for Cloak Banshees. He saw with his Reaper the starport, tech lab on the barracks, and a second gas. So he knows that mass amount of Hellions cannot go. A mass amount of Hellions would not be a logical follow-up. If it were to happen, it would be delayed, and Flash would have this Widow Mine we see here on the map already done, and a larger Marine count as well. By the time, if Gumiho were to opt for delayed Hellions with his build, but we see Flash preparing for Cloak Banshees, and I believe his Marines being overextended outside of the natural is part of his reaction to the Cloak Banshees that he saw, along with the 3 turrets. So normally a player might just build an engineering bay and then 3 turrets, but Flash, he built 3 turrets and he moved his Marines slightly out of position, or slightly farther out. And now Flash has a Widow Mine to cover one area, and his Marines are going to be covering the other area, which zones out. What it does is it zones out the Banshee, and it allows Flash to zone out other units that might try to come as well. So, for example, if Gumiho tries to poke up with Hellions, which he does in a little bit, Flash is going to have his units in a good position to stop that, and already 1 Hellion goes down to the Widow Mine. Now, it's kind of odd to see these Marines on the wrong side of the cliff. Normally you see these Marines chasing the Banshee in your main base on the high ground so that they can't be hit by Hellions. Gumiho's making 2 Hellions at a time right now, but he did lose his Hellion count, so it's not. It takes 4 Hellions to kill 4 Hellion shots to kill 1 Marine. So since he lost, I think that's his third. No, that's just his first Hellion. He lost the Reaper and he lost the Marine. So since he didn't lose that much, Flash, it just gives Flash even more reason for the Marines to be out on the map like this. And normally you would see Marines being in the main base, but the reason why they're also out here is to help zone out the Banshee. Because if we take a look at Flash's defense, he has a Widow Mine over here, he has a turret over here, his Marines are over here, and he has another turret in his main base directly above the Banshee. And this effectively traps the Banshee. Well, not traps. There's the turret, and he has another turret in his main. So this effectively zones out the Banshee and really limits where it can do damage. And Flash, you can see him clicking the mineral patch, so he moves his SCVs away instantly, so Gumiho can't pick off an SCV or 2. Does he get 1? He gets 1. That's decent. But the Viking comes out and it already takes a couple shots off. And as you can see here, Gumiho is surrounded by 2 turrets, Marines, and a Viking. Well, 3 turrets, Marines, and a Viking. So His Banshee, okay, he gets another SCV, which is nice, and a Marine, whatever he can snipe off, but so far this Banshee didn't do that much damage. It's not a game ender, and it's a pretty even game. And Flash has done a very great job at mitigating the damage that this Banshee can do. I believe Gumiho, yep, there's the second Banshee coming through the natural, and this Banshee is going to poke in to the main and try to do a little bit more damage. But Flash's defense, since he made 3 turrets and he has 6 Marines, a Widow Mine, and a Viking to defend against Cloak Banshees, he's gonna have an alright time at defending this. And poor Gumiho, he just loses his Banshee like it's not even important. That was a very bad mistake by him. And you can see his face. It's just like, ooh. Alright, so this Banshee really only was able to kill 2 SCVs, and this Viking's going to be able to finish it off because Cloak is going to wear out in a very short time. Now, I guess I should explain what Flash's build is going to be. It's going to be a 3 command center Marine tank build, but instead of being aggressive with it, he's going to choose to be defensive and tech very, very fast to battle cruisers. Now, I don't know if this works against Marine tank or if this is just a reaction to Gumiho going mech. For now, since we have limited information on the game, we're going to assume that this only works versus mech, because I don't think battle cruisers are very good against Marines. So we're only going to assume that this strategy works versus mech and that Flash prepared it and is only planning on using it versus mech. So Gumiho's trying to do a little bit of harassment, whatever he can. If he can pick off free units, that's great. So Flash knows that Gumiho has gone for a gas first Banshee. He has some Hellions. He made 2 Banshees, so he most likely has an expansion behind it. There's not going to be an early Marine tank push because of the Hellions. And Gumiho is playing pretty greedy and taking that 3rd base fairly quickly. But he can do that because he does have map control with these Hellions. And Flash is going to be doing a pretty standard 3rd command center before any of his production buildings really start. It's basically a 1-1-1 off of 3... a 1-1-1 into 3 command centers. So everything looks normal right now. There's a reactor on the starport. There's 2 tech labs on the racks. It looks like he's going to play a bio-tank game versus mech. Like, very similar to what it looked like between the game that I casted between Tasia and Major on Habitation Station. If you haven't checked that game out yet, I will link it in the bottom so that you can take a look at a more traditional Marine tank versus mech play. But this isn't traditional. This is unorthodox. This looks fun. I haven't done it yet, so I can't say it is fun, but it looks fun, and it looks like a very entertaining style to use. So, similar to the Tasia versus Maker game, some of the main points here I'll go over briefly is that Flash basically wants to assume a defensive positioning while he lands his 3rd base and starts mining from it. And what this, sorry about that, I just wanted to make sure this recording is still recording and there's nothing wrong with it. Alright, so what this does is it allows Flash just setting up for taking his 3rd base. He doesn't want to take a lot of damage from the Hellions. And Gumiho, he took a very fast 3rd base, so his Hellions just want to maintain map control. He doesn't want to he doesn't want Flash to... He wants to try to slow down Flash as much as possible, and killing any SCVs at the 3rd base with his Hellions is good for him. Even though you can't expect it to happen, it's just an additional bonus to your play that makes your timing even stronger. So, what's happening right now is Gumiho is scanning Flash. He doesn't know if Flash is going mech or bio. And by the scan, he's going to see stim, combat shields, and 3 barracks. So he knows Flash is going for a bio tank right now. Now watch what happens when the scan goes away. Right there, right there. Just okay. He doesn't cancel it yet, but he does cancel his combat shields. Come on, come on. There we go, there we go. And he, okay, so I did notice that he canceled his combat shields, but he canceled his stim as well. Let's just look at that again. So Gumiho scans. He sees two tech labs researching both stim and combat shields. This looks like a standard marine tank game. The scan and Flash is also building up. He has one Medvac and he's building one Viking. He's committing as much as possible to start this Skyterran army. And he already has a Raven and a Viking. So the scan goes away from Gumiho and Flash. Do it. Do it again. Come on. Just mind-boggling. The absolute highest of mind games. And what do we see on the production tab? We see 1 starport, we see 2 starports. As soon as Gumiho scans, Flash cancels his tech. Now, you can't, it's not guaranteed that the Terran player is going to scan the other player, because what if the Banshees were still alive? What if they poked in and they saw 2 tech labs going, or 2 tech labs on the barracks? That's also another alternative way to scout. So, what we can assume, or what we can gather from this information that is available right now, I mean, obviously we can't ask Flash exactly what was happening, but we can assume that because Gumiho scanned Flash to see whether Flash was going bio, tank, or mech, Flash, Flash is going to be going for Skyterran eventually, but Flash does a very genius move by canceling both stim and combat shields, only because Gumiho scouted him. I think if Gumiho did not scout him, or if Gumiho scouted him another way, like with a Banshee or a Hellion drop instead of a scan, Flash would have kept researching those 2 upgrades. Let me just make sure I'm not crazy. So, and the thing that Flash does doing that is just so smart, because he has a game plan to tech up to this invincible Skyterran army very, very fast on 3 bases. And getting stim and combat shields it allows him to be safe versus a meching player, but at the same time, it's not really needed to it's not really needed to create that ultimate Deathball air army that he has. So as we can see here, he's going to be starting stim and combat shields momentarily. He starts it literally. He literally starts it when Gumiho scans. I love this Pro League where you can see that. Okay, so stim, let me just check that one more time. I think stim literally just starts as soon as Gumiho scans. So we see the scan. God, that's such a close timing. I can't even tell. So maybe Flash wasn't even planning on getting... I don't think Flash was planning on getting stim and combat shields in the first place. And he's only doing this... It's similar to a situation where you have a Cloak Banshee and your opponent scans your base and you cancel Cloak. It's like that kind of mind games, except it's on a bigger scale. And instead of bio tank, he's going for Skyterran. Wow. So as soon as the scan goes away, he cancels it. That's just next level mind games. And even though Flash hasn't won any major tournaments in StarCraft 2, this is why he is my favorite player to watch, because he does such ingenious little things and he is such a creative player. He really deserves to be recognized for those traits and not just being the monster he was in Brood War. I mean, he still has it in StarCraft 2 regardless of what people say. So he's adding those 2 starports at about the same time he's taking his 5th and 6th gas. That's about how much gas you need to start producing units. And so he adds his starports, he takes his gas, and then he's starting to add a what's it called? Fusion core. And then he starts stim. Oh, actually, this is actually. So I have a new thought about this. So Flash, you see he has +1. He's researching it. This is not something he needed to cancel, but he canceled it anyways. Now, keep in mind, this is a pre-planned out strategy that Flash designed to use against any mech play. So if Gumiho went Biotank, Flash would have just played a regular Biotank game. Since Gumiho is going Mech, Flash is going for Fast Air, the big air army. So not only does Flash cancel Stim and Combat Shields, he also cancels +1 attack. And +1 attack was started faster than both Stim and Combat Shields, which tells us that Flash was planning on getting these upgrades, but he makes an in-game decision to get his tech out faster. So it's very expensive to add on 2 starports and a fusion core and then start battlecruiser production. And to speed up that, to accelerate that process, Flash makes the decision this is definitely a decision he made in the game based on what Gumiho was doing. So he's not only playing the matchup and playing the map, he's also playing the player. So Gumiho scans, he sees Biotank, and then Flash, like, it was Flash's decision to go for a Skyterran. Like, he's gonna get that inevitably, but to accelerate that and to make it, like, to get it even faster, maybe like even half a minute faster, because that's 300 gas, he cancels Stim, he cancels Combat Shields, and then he cancels +1 attack as well. Like, there we go. He cancels it. So this tells us that he is adapting his play to what Gumiho is doing real time. And that is to cancel all unnecessary upgrades so that he can get his big air up faster, because Gumiho, he doesn't need Stim and Combat Shields because Gumiho is taking his third base and he's going to be playing a very defensive game as well. Now, yeah, that's just crazy. And now Flash is restarting Stim, so he basically just switched it around the order in which he's added some buildings. Instead of doing the usual of starting Stim, then starting +1 attack, Stim, and then Combat Shields, he starts 2 starports and a fusion core, and then he starts Stim. That's just, like, that level of thinking and amount of experience and practice that it takes to make a big decision like that on the fly is what makes Flash such an amazing player. I just have to say it again. Flash is an amazing player. He's an amazing player that gets 2 fusion cores. Ha! What a troll. No, it was actually supposed to be an armory. So Flash is getting these 2 Banshees, 2 Vikings. He's starting to get his big air army. Now, I went over it in the Tasia versus Major game. During this phase, about 12-13 minutes, this is when Gumiho wants to be active on the map with his Hellions, and at the same time, he wants to start powering up. He wants to get 5 factories producing, and he wants to be on 3 base mining efficiently. Same with Flash. They're both in the similar positions. Excuse me. And what Flash chooses to do is, since he's already playing defensive, why not tech to something else that might throw Gumiho off guard, and that is battle cruisers. So this is just like how Flash developed this kind of plan, like why he would do this kind of battle cruiser rush to begin with. And it just fits in. Like, it's a very entertaining strategy to see battle cruisers being made 13 minutes into the game in TvT, but at the same time, Flash also has a very good reason for doing this as well. So both players just macroing up that there's the fusion core. It's actually supposed to be an armory. So Flash has no upgrades in bio so far, and he's just making bio units, and he's using them as a defensive measure to clear out the watchtowers and exert map control to maybe make Gumiho a bit nervous. And at the same, he's not even making additional medevacs. He made one medevac. He didn't even make two medevacs. He made one medevac and one Viking out of the reactored starport. That's how hard Flash is trying to power up towards a big Sky army. And he's also hiding it in a very, very, I guess, a very concealed location that Gumiho isn't immediately going to scan there for. So this is what Gumiho sees. He thinks he's going biotank. This is all of Gumiho's vision. He sees this Bioforce walking back and forth between the watchtowers. However, one thing that tips Gumiho off is that, and this is what attributes to why Gumiho is such a great player as well, but so he threw down a scan at about 11 minutes, and it's now 14 minutes in, and Flash doesn't have combat shields. And he's not even researching them. Gumiho saw Flash researching combat shields. So soon, like the next time he sees those Marines, he's gonna know something is a little bit off. Like, why doesn't Flash have combat shields if he's going biotank? And so right now, this is when Gumiho gets to see the Marines, and he's gonna start to realize, Flash, why no combat shields? And before he answers that question in this game, I just want to point out Flash taking a fourth base because he knows he has map control. He's been clearing out the watchtowers, doing a diligent job doing that. So not only is he going to take a fourth base, he's going to double expand. Now, this is very smart by him because he's going for a big Sky army. He's making 2 battle cruisers at a time, and he needs a lot of gas to keep that production up if he's going to keep the sustainable production. And he's getting 2 armories or he has 1 armory getting upgrades. He's going to have a second armory making upgrades as well. So he's going to be very gas intensive. And at the same time, he's adding a barracks. I believe he adds another barracks and another starport pretty soon. Maybe not. But he's still adding a barracks. So he does have stim. So he wants to have just some barracks production in case Gumiho is going to be pushing out relatively soon. It's 15 minutes in. Gumiho is at 150 supply. He's doing a pretty good job macroing up, and if Gumiho decides to push before Flash gets enough of a big army, Flash is going to die because he's invested all of his tech into that little corner on the minimap. I wonder what building is floating over there. But yeah, so he's invested all his tech into that corner. Oh, I bet it's the factory. Alright, enough sidetrack. He's investing all his stuff over there, and he has like 10 Vikings, and he's just been making Vikings and battle cruisers. So he has to add on some safety barracks just to be safe against any possible attack that Gumiho might do. And if he loses his Bioforce, the Bioforce, they respawn faster than battle cruisers, so it's what's going to help keep him alive. And so there's Flash. I thought he was actually gonna. He still is double expanding, but I thought he was just gonna float the command center at his third over there. But building a command center over there is fine as well. Basically, he's aggressively expanding because he's gonna have big control. He's gonna have super big control in a second. All right, so Gumiho, he's like, Flash, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? And what tips him off is the Bioforce over here, and Gumiho finally realizing that, like, he sees a fourth base almost done, and there hasn't been any aggression by Flash. Now, if you're going biotank, you want to be aggressive against someone who's going mech. You don't want to just let the mech player take a fourth base for free, basically, and like power up to that really big econ, unless you're doing a battlecruiser rush. So Gumiho is confused. He finally realizes that Flash isn't being aggressive. There's a fourth base almost done, and Flash hasn't attacked at all. And hopefully he's noticed that those Marines don't have combat shields yet. So he scans, he sees a second starport, and he sees a couple more barracks. He's like, okay, so Flash is probably going to be going for air soon. And then he sees, I believe he sees those 2 starports in the back. I'm not too sure about that. But he is going to scan Okay, so he does see 2 more starports. So he sees a total of 4 starports. He knows that Flash is going to be going for an air strategy. So immediately, he's making more Thors, and he's going to start making Widow Mines as well. This army. It's so at 16 minutes in the game, instead of having a maxed out, or Gumiho is basically starting to realize what Flash is doing at 16 minutes in the game. And so far, all Gumiho has is a handful of Vikings and 3 Thors, soon to be popped out, against 3 battle cruisers and 2, 4, 6, 8. Looks like 9 to 10 Vikings and a Raven. So far, Flash's strategy is unfolding out very well, and it's because as a mech player, this is the time that you want to be defensive. So Flash knew that, and he chose to be defensive as well because he was creating an even better army than a mech army, which is a Sky army. Alright, so there's a second scan. Gumiho, he gets lucky and he sees that fleet of units, and immediately he's gonna be, look at his face. It's just, it's priceless. That's what he's, if you just stare there, he's gonna have that face for the next like 10 minutes, because Flash has just scared him straight. He has, alright, Gumiho has 7 Vikings. He's making 2 starports, 5 Widow Mines, the Thor, 2 Vikings. He knows he needs to make as much stuff as possible to be able to counter this air army. Now, the only thing Gumiho has going for him is that he's ahead on upgrades. And even then, it's not going to be for long, because Flash does have 2 armories. And he's getting tunneling claws as well. So, I know that Widow Mines, if you get like 7 Widow Mines, I guess, even more, like a large amount of Widow Mines, and you plop them under battle cruisers, it takes Widow Mines. Let's just do a little bit of math right here. Widow Mines do 125 damage. Battle cruisers have 550 HP. So what does that mean? That means that Widow Mines need 5. You need 5 Widow Mine shots to kill 1 battle cruiser. So against maybe like 2 to 3 battle cruisers, Widow Mines are great units, and Thors as well. But later on, we see Flash is going to have, I believe he goes up to like 9 battle cruisers, and Widow Mines just don't cut it anymore. And that's the critical mass that Flash is going for. That is going to allow him to win the, just move over and roll the mech player with Yamato cannons and battle cruisers. Like right now, these Thors are just getting destroyed. And I think Flash starts to move out now because he has Yamato cannons, he has the superior air force, and Gumiho did just scan him. So if Flash is going to do some sort of damage and utilize the fact that Gumiho is being caught by surprise, there's his mouth open with astonishment, then it's going to be moving out now and trying to reduce what Gumiho has that can counter what Flash is building. Now, remember, Flash is building battle cruisers. He wants a large battle cruiser force. Gumiho is building air, or anti-air. He has Vikings, he has 2 Thors here, 1 just got Yamato'd, so he did have 3 at one point, and he has a bunch of Widow Mines. So what Flash is doing here is he's getting rid of Gumiho, he's resetting Gumiho's air count. So these Widow Mines right here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Widow Mines. Let's see how much damage they do. They kill a bunch of Vikings. That is okay for Flash because he is making battle cruisers. He wants a large battle cruiser count, and he wants the rest of his army to be filled with Vikings. And earlier on in the game as well, Flash did not make more. He did not make more bio units than he had to. We can see he has a bio force over there, and he's making 2 Marauders at a time. He has the potential to make 2 Marauders and 2 Marines at one time, and all he has is 6 Marauders, 16 Marines, and 1 Medvac. That's his entire bio force. And from here on out, he is making he's putting all his money into battle cruisers and upgrades and Vikings. So this is how much of a tech cheese, and I'm calling this a cheese. It's not a reliable style. It's not good if you do it multiple times, because the player is going to be able to scout and react and to build up a force that can counter this easier. And there's a bunch of timing attacks that you can also do to punish Flash while he's teching up to the big air. So that's why I'm calling it a tech cheese. But if a player doesn't know it's coming and he scouts it too late, like Gumiho does, which is about now-ish, he scans, then it does have the potential to win the game and do terrible, terrible damage. Alright, so I just want to reiterate, so this is Gumiho scouting Flash's army, and since Gumiho did scout Flash's air army, Flash now wants to attack immediately. Right when Gumiho is starting to build all of his anti-air structures, he wants to thin out Gumiho's air count so that Flash has just a slight, like one more production round worth of time, so like 30 to 40 seconds to maybe squeeze out 2 to 3 more battle cruisers and maybe finish upgrades, depending on what happens in the next couple minutes. But basically, all he wants to do is buy time. He's not looking to end the game with this Sky Armada coming across the map right now. He just wants to thin out all the anti-air. And he does he gets some good trades off. He gets a couple Thors and he resets the Viking count. So that's really good for him. Even though he does lose a bunch of Vikings, it's he is able to kill the Thors and reset Gumiho's Viking count as well. And once again, these Widow Mines, they're great against air in small numbers, but when Flash is going to have 9 battle cruisers in about 3 minutes, then it doesn't work that well. So Gumiho he's in absolute shock right now, and poor guy, Flash has a Widow Mine brilliantly placed. This is the Widow Mine from earlier that was on the ramp. Flash just positioned it here because the Widow Mine doesn't need to be there anymore. It can now is moving out to protect Flash's 4th base, and this is a very important chokeway to have some map presence in. Gumiho also has a Hellion over here as a spotter, and Flash's Widow Mine is just acting as a spotter. And if he was going for Biotank, it would be a Marine over here. But this chokeway to have, especially in cross positions like this, is very important to have vision of. So Gumiho is going for a Hellback drop. He wants to try to disrupt Flash's economy or do some just to buy time for Gumiho to get more anti-air out. But already Flash is in a great position. If we can look at the map, he has 5 bases. He's starting his 6th base. He already has 5 geysers already starting to mine gas. So Flash's economy is disgusting right now, and Gumiho's literally just starting to take his 4th, and he's going to land it soon. And I hope they show units tab, because this is what Gumiho's army is. He has 103 army supply, and there's 10 siege tanks and 4 Hellbats. So 10 siege tanks times 3, that's 30 army supply in siege tanks, and he has another 2, 4, 6, 8. So he has 38 army supply in siege tanks and Hellbats that do not shoot up. So his real army supply, if I can even assume that, he might even have more tanks than what's here. But his real army supply is, against air, is like, what is the math? Like 50, 58, 52, 50 to 60. And Flash here, he has, his entire army is, okay, so he has a couple more Thors. So yeah, so it's about minus 38 supply from his army, so that's 70, 50, 54 army supply is in air, while Flash, he just had that handful of Marauders and Marines. I believe he has about 6 Marauders and 16-ish Marines, and that's about 30 supply. So Flash is just, okay, he definitely has less bio, and he has a lot more air in his air army, or in the army tab. So even though Flash is slightly ahead, the fact that Gumiho has all these siege tanks and Hellbats, and Flash has battle cruisers and Vikings, means that it's very, it's not a good indicator of where the game is at, and Gumiho is actually farther behind than Flash if you take into account what they're both trying to build up, and that's air army. So think of it as air army, double A supply. So Gumiho recognizes the fact that these siege tanks and hellbats are useless, and Flash is coming over with Jesus fucking Christ. Let me just, oops. Still recording? Alright, yeah. Let me just count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 battle cruisers, 3 more producing. So he's gonna have 11 battle cruisers. And Gumiho, he's just, his mouth is wide open because he doesn't know what to do against this. He has an entire army that is just based on the ground. It's not gonna do anything against these battle cruisers that are just, they're just so scary. So what Gumiho chooses to do is to do a counterattack to try to wipe out Flash's economy. Then maybe Gumiho can trade cost efficiently with Vikings or Widow Mines or something. But basically he's in a pickle now, and you can see his expression on his face. He does not look happy. So like I was saying earlier, these Widow Mines, they're only great against 3 to 4 battle cruisers because Widow Mines splash damage. They'll do enough damage, and if they splash on top of the battle cruisers, they'll be able to take them out in one volley. But when you start to have a very, very large amount of battle cruisers, then Widow Mines aren't very good, and you really need Vikings and Ravens to deal with them. And okay, thank God there's a units tab. So Gumiho has 7 Widow Mines. He stopped the Widow Mine production. He has 9 Vikings and 1 Raven and 2 Thors. That's all he has against Flash's 10 battle cruisers. And this is also due to, in part, the fact that Flash did move out as soon as Gumiho scouted him and picked off, I believe, 2 to 3 Thors and about 6 to 8 Vikings as well. So, like, Gumiho could have had 20 Vikings. Oh, no. He could have had like almost 25. Oh my god, he could have had almost 20 Vikings and like 5 Thors, but instead he only has 2 and 9. And so it makes Flash's army super, super strong. And so Gumiho is going to go for a counterattack because he knows he can't engage in Flash's army. Oh my god, that's so scary. Honestly, I think you really just need mass Vikings, because Vikings can kite these battle cruisers. So if you do get enough Vikings, you can start kiting these battle cruisers and just kill those Vikings. And then if you just have battle cruisers left, then the Vikings will end up winning if you have a large enough number and if the battle cruisers don't have Yamato. So Flash goes ahead, he takes out Gumiho's 4th base, and then he goes back to wipe out this ground army, because at this point in time, Gumiho only has 3 bases. Flash sees him taking his 4th, but there's no gas mining, so Gumiho is basically starved for both minerals and gas. So by killing these units, Flash is basically gonna secure himself a victory, because this is the last of Gumiho's army, and he can't replenish it into more cost-effective units. And I mean, what's more cost-effective than a tank that can't shoot up, right? And Gumiho's gonna try to do some Hellion run-bys, but I don't think he realizes how many bases Flash has. Flash has a ridiculous amount of bases, and Gumiho did kill about... Okay, so he does have a bunch of Widow Mines as well. That's... Oh, I wish I could see how many Widow Mines that is. There's the battle. Please click there. Please click there. Please click there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 Widow Mines. Even if they all shot as effectively as possible at different battle cruisers, if they're all spread out, he's only going to kill like 2 to 3 battle cruisers. So these Widow Mines, even though they do shoot up, they're not a good solution to these battle cruisers. So that was like 15 Widow Mines I counted, I think. And Flash has like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has like 6 battle cruisers right here. Got some good shots off on the Vikings, but that doesn't even matter. And Flash's army just gets damaged, and it can just be repaired really easily. So these Widow Mines just were not... They were just a band-aid solution, and Flash just ripped the band-aid off, and Gumiho's face is like... Alright, so Flash has a ridiculous army. Oh my god, he has so many battle cruisers. Like, he's getting Cloak for Banshees, and he's making Banshees as well. I guess he doesn't really need... I mean, after you have like 10 battle cruisers, I guess you don't need more. And he's getting Concussive Shell. So this is when the bio starts to kick in. He didn't use his production buildings at all, and now, in this scenario, when Gumiho is trying to build Vikings and other anti-air units, such as Thors and Widowmines, what are good units against Thors, Widowmines, and Vikings? Well, it's Marines and Marauders. So, like, this is what I was saying about how Flash's strategy, even though it's so silly and it's so non-traditional, at the same time, it's very well planned out. And it accounts for a lot of different things that Gumiho can do with a more traditional strategy. And that's one of the big reasons why this works and why Flash is able to pull it off. Along with the fact that Gumiho was not able to react fast enough. I think he should have spammed turrets, a lot more turrets, instead of making a group of a lot of Hellions and harassing with them, and throwing the Hellbats away as well. Like, all those Hellions, if they were turrets, I think he would have stood a better chance, and it would have given him some more time. Because battle cruisers do suck against turrets, especially when turrets have +2 building armor and +1 range. But yeah, so this battle is pretty one-sided. Oh golly, and there's like 5 Widowmines beneath, but Flash doesn't even care. Takes out 2 battle cruisers, and there's just a million more. And so at this point, Flash knows that as long as he has enough Vikings to escort these battle cruisers around, he's gonna win, and he doesn't need to make any more battle cruisers. And Gumiho's just making Widowmines and Vikings to try to stem the bleeding. And this is what I was talking about earlier as well. Battle cruisers are only good, like what Flash was doing. He surprised Gumiho and he maxed out on battle cruisers, but he doesn't continue making them, because if you overmake battle cruisers, then Vikings and Widowmines, if the Widowmines get good shots on the Vikings and there's just Vikings left versus battle cruisers, then the Vikings are going to win, because they do kite the battle cruisers very well. They have a higher range, except for Yamato cannons, but Yamato cannons don't recharge very easily. So Gumiho at this point has no money, he has no economy. Flash has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6 bases. The units tab is looking pretty grim for him. And look, so this whole entire game, Flash didn't have a lot of bio, but now what does he have? He has 21 Marauders and 9 Marines. So he's starting to switch into more cost-effective units, and units that are also more effective on dealing with what Gumiho is building right now, which are Thors, Vikings, and Widowmines. So yeah, Flash, the strategy looks like a pretty fun strategy to do. It was effective based on the fact that Gumiho did scout it, to his credit. He just scouted it a bit late. If he was able to scout it a minute or 2 faster, that would have been a production round of additional units. And also, Flash's small moves, like trading those battle cruisers and Ravens, let me just go back to it. Yeah, trading right here for those Thors and the Vikings was a very intelligent decision, because it extended Flash's timing window in which his battle cruisers would be effective. But yeah, so this is basically game over. He's scanning, he doesn't see anything. Gumiho has no economy whatsoever. And even if he did, he doesn't know what to make. There's nothing really that can beat this kind of an army, and Flash is up almost double his army supply, so good game. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's definitely a fun strategy to try out. And I suggest, if you do try it out, to try it out on a 4-player map, or yeah, just a 4-player map, or a very large, or I think a very large 2-player map could work. Basically, you need a map large enough where you can take a lot of expansions, and where a counterattack cannot end the game, and Flash is an excellent, not Flash, Frost is an excellent map for that, as we saw Gumiho's counterattack not being able to do anything, and Flash was able to retreat his air army and take out Gumiho's ground army. Alright, so that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any specific questions about builds or games you want me to go over, they can be on YouTube. Hopefully, as long as they're on YouTube, it should be fine. I think this cast worked out pretty well, and I was just watching the video on YouTube, and I can use my mouse cursor to highlight different ideas that I have in my head. So yeah, I guess YouTube videos or just general questions that I can use replays as examples to show show the best reactions. Then just let me know, leave a comment, and happy